Amy has worked for LifeSkills for 27 years as a case manager and peer support supervisor. In those 26 years, she has supported individuals through targeted case management for 20 years by helping individuals maintain and grow in their community. For the past 6 years, Amy has supervised the peer support team at LifeSkills, working to grow a program of support not only for individuals, but peer support working in the community mental health system. Ashley has worked for LifeSkills as a peer support specialist case manager for 7 years. Ashley has been a vital member to the peer support team at LifeSkills. Ashley has worked in programs with adults with severe mental illness and substance use disorders. Ashley helps lead our peer team at the consumer-operated program, the Wellness Connection. She has chairperson of our CFAC Council. Ashley is also a peer support curriculum trainer for LifeSkills.
Okay, that's a lot. We appreciate it.
So she's going to do a sign-in sheet if you want a copy of the PowerPoints, and we're going to show a video today of that. Sign your name and your email and we'll send it. I was going to make copies, but you never know how many people you have in here, and so we decided this would probably be the best way. That way you'll have it when you get back to where you are and you don't have to try and keep up with it to go home. So Teresa's going to pass that around. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like she said, I'm Amy. I'm from LifeSkills. I oversee the peer support program. I know some of your faces just from trainings. We were just talking about, we do the peer curriculum training. And so one of the things that we always talk about in the peer training is we talk about hope. I mean, that's the whole thing about peer support is, you know, we offer hope to individuals. But sometimes people are like, well, what does that really look like? So someone shared a video with us about the scientific view of hope. Has anybody seen it? It's like a TED Talk. We're going to talk a little bit about what he says, and then we're going to share the video. But it just gives a different perspective on what hope can look like for someone and how hope is in every step that we take every day. And sometimes we don't realize that. So we're going to start off with that. Ashley, do you have anything you want to share?
No, I was just going to say, I think there's some open seats if some of you guys want to squeeze in.
There's one up here, there's one there, two in the back. There's one up front. Ryan, you can come up front, man. So, just so y'all know, the ones that have the t-shirts like us, that's part of our team. We made them for the training today, so I asked them what the definition of peer support was, and that kind of collectively put the definition together based off the people of the team and their feedback and stuff. So, but we'll go ahead and get started. So when we think about hope, okay, y'all gotta bear with us. We don't have a clicker. Well, I say that. Okay, when you think about images of hope, you're that image of hope. So every time you look in the mirror every day, remember that you're that image of hope. You're that person that is offering hope to someone. And hope can be in everything that we do, everyday life, the things that we're trying to change, and we inspire people. I always go, the easiest thing for me to think about when we don't think about mental health or substance use, we just think about stuff in general is, I hope I can lose weight. You know, and then you see someone that's doing it, and so you get inspired by them. It's the same thing with mental health and substance use. People want to have what you all have. People want to be able to, you know, that's one thing John said when his peer support, Luke, picked him up was, you know, I want what Luke has. So Luke is hope just by that interaction, by the way he acts, the way he presents himself, the way that he is an example to everybody that he encounters. And so John wanted that. So here Luke, all he did was said, hey, I'm Luke, I'm your peer support, and there was something about him that he wanted. And so that interaction every day that you all do, introducing yourself. We run a program, the Wellness Connection, and we get a lot of individuals that aren't housed, and so a lot of individuals that aren't housed, and every day. And so one of the things I always say is, if Ryan walked in the door and I didn't know him, I would say, is this your first time here? Yes. Well, I'm Amy, we're glad you're here. What's your name? Ryan. So I'm going to remember Ryan every time he comes in. So I'm going to say, hey Ryan, how are you today? Every time he walks in, because that's setting that example for Ryan. He's going to be like, oh, I want this. I want what these people have, because there's that connection, and hope allows that connection.
Okay, so what is hope? Hope is the belief that your future will be better than the present and that you have the ability to make it happen. It involves both optimism and can-do attitude. Since this definition of hope is based on hope theory, a positive psychology concept developed by American psychologist Charles Snyder. It has 3 distinct parts according to the hope theory. So that first part is goals. Having a goal is the cornerstone of hope. Goals can be big or small. You can have a goal to go to college or to begin practicing yoga. And then the second part is agency or willpower. Agency is the ability to stay motivated to meet your goal. It involves believing that good things will come from your actions. And then the third part is pathways. So there are specific routes you develop to meet your goals. If your first pathway doesn't work, you problem solve to find a new pathway. High hope people understand that roadblocks are inevitable and that it might take several tries to reach your goals.
So when we think about the video we're going to watch, he talks about a hope theory, and so he kind of goes through each stages of, you know, you have goals, and we all have, every day we wake up and we have something that we want to do that day. That's our goal. Is sometimes it's just to get through the day. And so we always have a goal of something that we want to work towards. We're always trying to do something to better ourselves, or I hope you are. I know I am. Yes. Every day I get up. I'm just glad to get up every day some days. And then that willpower is what helps keep us motivated. Willpower, a lot of people think, you know, is this word that everybody uses to lose weight. They have to have all this energy or whatever. But it's just that ability to stay motivated. It's just that, you know, thing that keeps you going every day. It may be, Ashley may be my willpower because I see what she's doing every day. So I'm going to continue. That's going to keep me going every day. And then the pathways are just so specific. What are you going to do? What does it look like? And if things aren't going the way they go, we were talking about losing weight last night, and Janie's like, oh, there goes the diet after she saw the desserts last night, you know. And sometimes we just have to reroute our pathways a little bit. And because when I think about pathways, I think about either going into a forest or going in traffic, Nashville traffic. We live down by Nashville. But there's so many different ways that you can go. And if this way doesn't work, then I might have to try a different way. And that's okay. That's okay. So these just give some examples of hope. So it says, hope theory trains you to unlock hope in all life areas, including exceptional and mundane situations. So this is a good example of hope. Is John is severely depressed and has been in bed for 3 days. He knows he feels better if he can get more active today. So John's goal is to just be more active today. His willpower, agency. It's hard to have willpower when you have depression. A lot of you deal with depression, so you know how hard it can be. But John motivates himself with the fact that he'll feel better if he could just get out of bed. So he just constantly uses that. And then his pathways, a plan to take a hot shower, cook a small breakfast, take a walk around the block. It may be just walking to the mailbox. And if one of these pathways fails, perhaps he'll write in his journal or call a friend. So if he can't get up and get that shower, then he has an alternative. He has a plan B that he's going to do to try and make sure that he gets up and gets going and feels better. The other example is Jenny found out that she has diabetes. While the news is sudden and unnerving, she's determined to stay hopeful. So she makes a goal to get healthy as possible. She takes inventory of her motivation. She knows her goal is achievable. If she perceives it, she knows she wants to get well for her loved ones and for herself. So she develops several different strategies to meet her goal of getting healthy. She develops an eating plan, a daily exercise regimen, and decides to learn all she can about diabetes. And so that, to me, I mean, you all do this every day. You think about even on your treatment plans, those who get services, I mean, sometimes, you know, these are goals that we set for ourselves. These are things that we do with the individuals, those who provide peer support. This is what you do with individuals every day. What is it you want to work towards? How can I best support you? How can I best help you? And so, to me, it's when I read this, I'm like, I know most of you know all of this, but sometimes we just have to be reminded that what we're doing every day, we are on that right path. We are doing those right things. We are asking those right questions. But the biggest thing about this is every time you're doing this, you are offering hope to someone, you know, by helping them and encouraging them. Or you're getting hope from somebody else if there's something that you want to change.
The only thing that I'll add to this is that sometimes I think that the agency or willpower, a lot of people think that it's this big thing, but really all it can be is a simple positive thought. You know, if they have that one simple positive thought, or even if you do, that's willpower there in itself. That gives you the motivation to keep going, to have that hope to go and achieve your goals.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something big. It can be just getting out of bed. You could be an inspiration for someone by just showing up at the programs that you work in, showing up to work every day, you know, being present, just being there. That's what Ashley was talking about. It's just those little bitty things that sometimes we always think it has to be something big. It has to be, you know, when we think about things that we want to do, we always think it has to be something bigger when it could just be something simple as I'm going to take a walk today. I'm going to walk out to the mailbox. I'm going to walk, you know, to my neighbors or something, just to kind of, it's those little steps, those little baby steps.
So what is the importance of hope? According to Snyder's hope theory, higher levels of hope are consistently linked to better outcomes regarding mental health, physical health, academics, athletics, physical health, and psychotherapy. So the psychological benefits of hope, and it says high hope people tend to have higher health levels of overall well-being. In one study, researchers looked at hope and well-being in a sample of nearly 13,000 participants. The team discovered that high hope participants reported the following. So more positive emotions, stronger sense of purpose and meaning, lower levels of depression, and less loneliness. So the physical benefits of hope, according to the findings, high hope people experience the following. Better physical health, reduced risk of overall mortality, fewer number of chronic illnesses, lower risk of cancer, fewer sleep problems. And the social benefits of hope says having high levels of hope is linked to less loneliness. Having more positive emotions can also help you develop stronger relationships with others.
I think this is important. You know, everybody has purpose and meaning. If I've learned anything by supervising and interviewing peer supports, is finding a purpose in life, wanting to have something that I get up and go to do every day. And a lot of times it's giving back for what people have given me. And so, and then the other physical, of course, we talk about physical benefits, but you maybe you're not as sick as often. Maybe you're following up with the doctor more often, and so you're getting that encouragement from your doctor, so you do better. But social benefits, this is so important because so many people feel lonely. I talk about in training, sometimes we play music videos, and I can remember one of the trainings I was talking about, you know, some of these rock stars or singers, they have this platform to share everything that they can, but they're some of the loneliest people in the world because they don't have, you think they have all these people in the world and it's great, wonderful, but sometimes they're the most lonely people in the world. So that social connection, I love our consumer operator program because we just come in and a lot of it is just socializing, people getting to know each other. You know, I say we serve a lot of folks that are not housed. A lot of them come back, some of them have come back and volunteered with us because they want to give back, but they also want to connect with the ones that are still unhoused because that was a relationship that they built, and that is so important. But they're also offering that hope to them that their life can look different. So socialization is probably one of my biggest pushers because I feel like relationships are so important and building relationships. I'm a relationships person. Ashley's a relationships person. We sometimes don't meet a stranger. And so, you know, that's just part of it. I might come up, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, and hug you. And you're like, whoa, I've only seen this woman one time. Like, but I love connection. I love people. I love, you know, just supporting, just bringing that support to one another. What you all do every day, peer support. Sometimes people think of that word so differently, but it's exactly what it says. Your job is exactly, you support people all day long and encouraging them. And so socialization is probably one of the biggest ones, and because of the emotion that comes with it. So some tips for becoming more hopeful. The good news that hope is a learned skill, and just about anyone can learn to be more hopeful. So it's not you can probably be born with it, but most of the time it's something that we have learned from somebody else, that we've seen in somebody else. So think of your goals as exciting challenges. Consistently imagine how you'll feel when you get there. Be flexible and creative. When brainstorming your pathways, develop a plan A, B, C, D, etc. Some of us might need that, etc. We may need more and more and more. Increase your motivation. What strengths can you draw to achieve your goals? What is currently working for you? When were you successful in similar situations and why? Expect roadblocks. This is a big one. Everything doesn't go the way we think it's going to go. So remember that most things of value don't come easily. My team knows that. I'm like, can y'all not see what's in my brain when I'm thinking? Come on, you guys. But roadblocks happen. It's just part of life. And we have to figure out how to get past it. And that's where they talked about pathways. There's so many different routes that we can take. We just have to turn around, shift. A lot of you have been through the peer training. How many have been through the curriculum training? Y'all learn about stages of change and all those wonderful things. It's the same type of thing, you know. Sometimes we're in it and then we bounce back out. And then we go for it again a different way, then we bounce back out. And then we keep going. So it's an everyday battle for some folks. Persist even under stressful conditions. This will help develop your coping skills, which will continue to help you reach your goals under pressure. This is so important. Reach out to people. I'm going to put you on the spot. I always put Ryan on the spot. I love Ryan. But when Ryan struggles with something and going on, he automatically texts us. Hey, this. And then it helps him get back on track. But he automatically does that. He automatically says, hey, this is what's going on. And that helps him to be able to continue to work towards his goals and continue to get the supports and the things he needs to reach the goals and things that he wants. So communication is the biggest thing. When you're under stressful conditions, share it with someone and help you walk through it. Don't just give up. Take it one step at a time. If you're struggling to reach your goals, think of one small step you can take each day. That's a big one. I think that's so important. Keep your goals high but realistic. False hope is actually a result of low hope. So you don't want a goal you're not going to be able to reach. You don't want to put something out there. And technically anybody can reach anything. If you want to be the president, you can be the president of the United States. But what is it today that you have to do to start working to get there? It's just not going to happen. You may not want to be. Politics is just a whole nother ballgame. Turn to humor. When you're feeling hopeless, watch a funny movie. A 2003 study found that laughter can increase our levels of hope. That's so important. When I'm stressed, I had to deal with a stressful situation at work, and our vice president started sending me funny. This is what I do when things are stressful for me, and she started sending me funny videos to watch, just to kind of get my mind off what was going on. And then gain strength from others. When you feel discouraged, listen to an inspiring podcast or read the memoir of someone who's overcome overwhelming obstacles, or just sit with somebody that you know has been through something. I dread going to work every day because I'm not a morning person. But once I get there, I love being there. And then my husband's like, are you ever coming home? But I gain strength from my team. I gain that energy off of the people that I work with. And so if I didn't have that, it would be harder and harder, and I may not have made it at LifeSkills for 27 years. So find your people. I do not have lived experience, but my team accepts me anyways. But they inspire me every day because they get up and they come to work every day, and they are, no matter how rough it is for Ashley today, she's inspiring or giving hope to someone or helping them work towards their own goals and what they want to do. Okay, we're going to show a video on hope, and this is where a lot of this stuff came from, but it's the science and power of hope. And this guy, if you haven't seen it, it's just it's about 20 minutes long, so I know it's early. I didn't know we were going to be the first ones to go today when we were doing this. But in the last peer training, someone had shared this with me a while back, and so in the last peer training, I asked them if I could share it with the team, and they let me do that, and they really liked it because it just gave this different perspective on hope, and so I wanted to make sure that we shared it with you all. So.
Thank you very much. Did you know that hope is something that can be measured? Did you know that there is this robust science around hope, and that over 2,000 published studies tell us that hope is one of the single best predictors of well-being across the lifespan? I'm a professor at the University of Oklahoma, and I'm the director of the Hope Research Center. And we spent the last 12 years trying to understand three important questions. Number one, what are the important outcomes associated with increasing hope? We see improvements in physical health. We see improvements in psychological well-being. We see improvements in social well-being. For children, increased hope scores improve their attendance, their grade point average, their graduation rates, and their college going rates. The second question that we're very interested in is, how does trauma and adversity rob us of our capacity to hope? And then the third question, which is the most important question, is how do we intentionally nurture and restore that hope? Now, I've been studying hope for about 12 years. But for about the last 20 years, I've been involved in areas of domestic violence, child maltreatment, homelessness, food insecurity, and the adversities experienced by our neighbors in our communities. And 12 years ago, I was fortunate enough to meet a young man who changed my life both personally and professionally. David was 19 years old, a young man, and we had a 10-minute conversation that transformed my life. As I'm having this very informal conversation with this young man, what he informs me is that about 3 months earlier, he received news of a devastating disease that he would live with for the rest of his life. More importantly, for the last 2 weeks, he had lived his life homeless and trying to survive day in and day out. And as I was listening to David as a psychologist and as a researcher, I began to listen to those things that must be wrong with him. As he's experiencing these adversities, I began to listen for things like depression, anxiety, and social isolation. But David changed my life that moment when he transitioned the conversation to begin talking about his future. He informed me that he was enrolling at the local community college. He had met with an academic counselor. He had already chosen a major. He knew what the courses were going to be. Instead of being focused on the adversity, he began telling me about his future goals and that plan. And it just struck me in that moment to understand that well-being is more than the reduction of what's wrong with us. And it started this journey for me to try to understand what David shared with me was this concept of hope. But it also transformed the way we began to do research, because the better question is, what is right with you? What is hope? What are some things that word make you think of? Positivity, the future, optimism, faith. These are some of the common words that I hear oftentimes associated with this word hope. Now, let me ask you another question. Do you think that hope is a feeling? Is it an emotion that is within us? Or is hope a way of thinking? And it turns out that hope is a way of thinking. And the reason that that is so important is because hope is a way of thinking, it is something that can be taught. Just as sure as we can teach a 4-year-old that 2 + 2 = 4, we can teach hope. So here is our definition. Hope is the belief that your future will be better than today and that you have the power to make it so. Now, this is an important definition because the first part of that definition, hope is the belief that the future will be better than today, is optimism. Hope goes beyond optimism by saying that you have the power to make it so. Hope is about taking action to pursue that future. Hope is about 3 simple ideas: goals, pathways, and willpower. Goals become the cornerstone of our ability for hope. Each and every one of you, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you are pursuing goals in your life. The question is whether or not you have the ability to identify the pathways or the roadmaps of how you're going to get there from here. And then the final part of hope is this, I prefer to use the word willpower, which is the mental energy. It is the motivation. It is the perseverance that we have to pursue our pathways, especially in the presence of adversity. Now, hope is very simple: goals, pathways, and willpower. And that is it. That is the complexity of hope. Now, as a professor at the university, I will tell you that we are trained to, why say something in 5 words when I can use 500? The more complex that this concept is, the better it must be. But what I love about the simplicity of hope is that it's accessible. It's accessible to each and every one of us. But we have to understand that both pathways and willpower are required for us to be hopeful. We have to have both the motivation for the goal as well as the pathways on how to get there. We have to have both. So it may be that I'm highly motivated towards a goal, but if I don't know how to get there from here, I would be considered lower in hope. Now, alternatively, it may be that I have those pathways available to me, I'm just not motivated to do that work. Now, one of the things that I'd like for you to think about is when you hear this language of hope, goals, pathways, and willpower, is to take just a moment and reflect on how we use this word hope in our everyday language. How have you used it today, in fact? And so we'll often use it as ways like, I hope you have a great day. I hope you're well. But while I have that great desire for that outcome, I have no control over that. I have no pathways by which to ensure that there are no storms. And in fact, when we think about it in this capacity, that hope requires both pathways and willpower, this is how we distinguish hoping from wishing. When we have a wish, we have a desire for the outcome, but no pathways. When we have a wish, it is passive towards those goals. Hope is about taking action to pursue that future. What I'd like to share with you really briefly is how trauma and adversity influence the goals that we set. And what we've learned is that when children, adults, and families are experiencing adversity, we're more likely to set avoidant goals. We're more likely to set goals of things that we do not want to occur. When we are experiencing higher levels of hope, we're more likely to set achievement-oriented goals. Now, the other thing that we've learned is that in the presence of adversity, we're much better at short-term goal setting than we are long-term goal setting. Now, this becomes very personal for me because during my high school years, I spent much of my time homeless. Now, when I graduated high school, the principal asked several of us to come on stage and to announce to our classmates and the school what our goals were for the future. I began to reflect, oh my gosh, what is the future going to hold? Because I have spent so many years focused on where am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? How am I going to stay safe? And I realized that I was losing my safe place in that moment. So I started to reflect real quickly. I say I could work on somebody's farm. I could join the military. I could go to college. So the microphone comes to me and I'm standing on stage and I say, I'm going to college. and that sounds just like an achievement goal. But for me, it was an avoidant goal. I went to college to avoid the other options. My first semester grade point average is a 0.56. I want to make sure you heard that, 0.56. I failed every class but advanced swimming and life saving. So it turns out I enjoy swimming. Now, the other thing I would encourage you is that you too can be a professor at the University of Oklahoma. Right? You too. It is possible. But what you have to recognize is that going to class, studying for the exam, getting good grades, achieving a degree was not my goal. I was avoiding the other options. And what we know is that the nature of our goals influence the way we think about how to get there. We also have learned that this is especially true with children, that when they experience trauma and adversity, they become very stressed around pathways thinking. The idea of coming up with the pathways of how to pursue those goals become very difficult for them. The ability to solve problems, to overcome barriers become very difficult. So trauma tends to rob us of our problem-solving capability. The other thing that we've learned is that our willpower, our mental energy is driven by fear and rumination. It drains us of that willpower, of that motivation. Now, two things that I would like to highlight about willpower. First and foremost is that it is a limited resource that we have in our bodies. That is, every day we are depleting that willpower. And what happens when our willpower is depleted is we begin to lose the capacity for self-regulation, to regulate our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors. We're more likely to be explosive in our emotions. We're more likely to be impulsive. The other thing and the final thing about that is because willpower is a finite resource, willpower is associated with the glucose in our system. Because glucose for us is energy. And as that energy is depleted, so too is our willpower. This highlights the critical nature of nutrition programs in our communities if we're going to continue to restore hope. Now, I'd like for us all to experience hope, goals, pathways, and willpower. And just a simple, quick little hypothetical exercise. Let's just go ahead and say that the goal, the desired outcome, is we want to drive. Say in this hypothetical example that the only pathway that we have available to us is a manual transmission or stick shift car. So just for those of you who know how to drive a stick shift car, what I want you to do is remember that very first experience. For those of you who have never had that experience, what I'd like for you to do is, and in fact, all of us, what I would like for us to do is to engage in a very simple, quick exercise. What I'd like for you to do is just close your eyes for just a moment and see if you can imagine yourself facing a car or looking at this car that is a manual transmission vehicle. Can you put that in your mind? Can you imagine that vehicle? Moreover, can you imagine yourself sitting in the driver's seat of this car? Can you see the gearbox beside you and the pedals that you're going to have to navigate? And then finally, can you imagine yourself attempting to drive this vehicle? And this is a critical core component when we begin to nurture and restore hope. Imagination is the instrument of hope. We have to be able to imagine ourselves in that future context. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of adversity. Let's imagine in this hypothetical scenario that we are parked uphill. Now, one more piece of adversity. Let's go ahead and say there's a brand new BMW parked immediately behind us, right? Brand new BMW parked immediately behind us. So we're going to have to navigate this. Now, those of you who are laughing, obviously you've had this experience before. And what I want you to do is just remember that anxiety, that excitement that you had. For me, it always makes my palms sweat when I think about that first experience. So we've got the car started. We, as in you, have the car started. We've got the clutch depressed. We're in first gear. Now, as you're slowly starting to let that clutch out in that moment with the BMW immediately behind us going uphill, as you're letting that clutch out, what is your goal in that moment? And most often what I hear is, don't hit the BMW behind me. Don't stall the engine. And what I want to highlight is that that's an avoidant goal. When we're all experiencing a stressful situation, we naturally will gravitate towards these avoidant goals. So let's say in this scenario, we let the clutch out, we don't hit the BMW, but we immediately kill the car. It just lurches and dies immediately. What is it that immediately goes through our mind as we've had this failed attempt? What are we telling ourselves about our ability to drive this car? And most often it is filled with the I can'ts. I will never be able to do this. But for those of you who know how to drive a stick shift car, let me ask you a question. Why didn't you quit? And the answer is because we desired the goal. And this is what we've learned. The more we desire the outcome, the more we're going to face adversity to try to overcome it. And that becomes a very important component in nurturing hope, is that the goal has to be desired. So let's say that you start the car back up, you let the clutch out, and now we lurch forward. We're actually driving. We have a successful attempt. We're going uphill with this. It could have been luck, but we're moving. So because practice makes perfect, we're going to pull over, turn the car off, and we're going to try it again. So you start the car up, you're still in first gear. As you let that clutch out, you immediately stall the engine one more time. But what are you saying to yourself now in your mind? And what we're saying is, well, I've done this before, I can do this again. And this is an important aspect of nurturing hope. Hope begets hope. That one opportunity for success showed us the future is possible. So we're starting to transition from the I can't to the I can. If I can drive in my neighborhood, I can drive in the city. If I can drive in the city, I can drive on the freeway. My point is that every new situation produces anxiety, this new scenario. But I know how to drive a stick shift car, so the future is possible. That's the hope begets hope part. Now, this is the pathways component. My question for you is, how well can you manage your willpower? How much of your attention, how much of your mental energy is required the first time you let the clutch out on that car? And the answer is all of it. We have to be able to dedicate all of that mental energy towards that process. How much of it, of your mental energy is required today when you drive? And the answer is not very much, right? We don't have to pay very much attention to that process because it's become habitual. But if I'm living in adversity and stress and I'm experiencing trauma where day in and day out, I'm wondering, where am I going to eat? How am I going to stay safe? Where am I going to live? How do I get my children's medication? All of those things are draining that willpower as individuals are trying to learn new pathways. So this is the interplay between goals, pathways, and willpower. And three important ideas were presented in this. First and foremost, imagination is the instrument of hope. That is critical. The second idea was that these goals have to be desirable. And when we're working with children, adults, and families, we have to recognize it's their goal, not our goal for them. They have to desire that goal. And then the third important point is the hope begets hope piece. But there's one more component that I want to share with you that I think is the most important takeaway with how to nurture hope. Now, as I mentioned, during my childhood, during my high school years, I was experiencing quite a bit of adversity in my life, transitioning into homelessness and other things that are associated with that. And I was really experiencing a tremendous amount of despair. It was really a dark time in my life, and to the point where I began to think about strategies to escape the pain. I set a plan. I had a date. And as I'm engaging in this sort of dark period of my life, one of my teachers, one of my middle school teachers, began to recognize my struggle. And he came up one day and he sat down beside me. And he sat down beside me for about 3 to 5 minutes. And he didn't say anything for the longest time. In fact, he just leaned into me. And then after a period of time, as he starts to get up, he looks over and he says, "Chan, you're going to be okay." And as that plan, as that date for me approached and I began to think about my strategies, this teacher kept coming back in my life. And what that teacher taught me is a critical aspect of nurturing hope. And that is, hope is a social gift. Hope is not something that happens in isolation within us. It happens in relationships with each other. Our connectedness with each other is one of the single best predictors of hope. Our connectedness with others, our connectedness with something greater than ourselves. Hope is a social gift. At the heart of change is our ability to understand the way things are right now in our lives. For me, I understood the despair and the angst that I was experiencing. But because of that important teacher in my life, I began to imagine the way things could be. And so for me, that is when hope is born. And we should learn to be a little more intentional in our social connections. Thank you.
Okay. As we wrap up, we got a few more minutes. Anybody have anything to share about that? I always like to see what y'all's thoughts about it are. A lot of it, you talked about is that social, every day that when you all go, those that are peer specialists, every day that you go, you are nurturing hope for somebody in everything you do every day. He was in middle school, homeless, thinking about taking his life, and that one person just sat next to him, didn't say nothing, was just present, and then said, "Hey, you're going to be okay." Sometimes that's all someone needs for them to be able to change their direction and what they want out of life. And so that's what I like about that video, is just how important that connection is. And I say this all the time in training, so if you've been in my training, but if we learned anything from COVID, we learned that connection was important. That was probably some of the hardest times for people because we were isolated. We could only connect through Zoom, through the telephone, and some people need that connection, that one-on-one, that time with someone. But every day I go to work, I watch my team, nurture hope to individuals that come in that they don't even know what they're going to do today, tomorrow, or the next day. And so that, to me, that hope, I always, we talk about hope, and hope, we're peers, we offer hope, but hope is everything that you do every day. You set that example for individuals. You help inspire them. You help them focus on what it is that they want to work towards. You give them something that they want to work towards. They may not know what they want to work towards, but as soon as they meet you, they're like, "That's what I want." Sam says, "I want to be, you all give me hope because I want to go back to school and I want to do what you all do." We are offering hope to her just by being with her and her seeing what we do every day. And she's a peer now, and then, she got into school and she's starting school. And so, but if she didn't encounter us and see what opportunities that she has and the strengths that she has, and if we didn't offer her hope and build her up and help her see that, she may not be on this pathway that she is today. And so every encounter, everything you do every day inspires someone to want to do better with their life. Any comments? Yeah. Any comments? Yes.
So I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed that video. And hope is one of the most powerful things that helped me along my journey in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever in 2019, whenever I went to the treatment center for substance abuse disorder, I was first inspired by a woman who was there who had recovered, and she was very successful suffered from substance abuse disorder, and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you were like me, And it really inspired me, and she just planted this little seed of hope inside of me. And a lot of the connections that I made with people around me, they continue to water that seed of hope, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger until I altered my belief system from I can't to I can.
That's awesome.
And so
That's awesome.
now, I'm able to do that for other people. And so this is really important when it comes to working with people that come in hopeless. And they think that they can achieve these goals and that what they've experienced is what their life is. And it doesn't have to be that way.
And that's how we kind of, so I hoped we got through this presentation, because I ain't gonna lie, we didn't write it until like 9 o'clock last night. I was like, I know what I want, but I want to make sure that you all get what you want. I'm just that type of person. But what made us really think about this is we were doing the peer training, and someone said, I've always been told to share my experience, strength, and hope. What does that mean? Like, what does that really mean? And it's like, we say it all the time. But for some people, it's like, what does that mean? How do I do that? And so that's why I like the video, because it kind of helps give people who need that, that breaking it down into the goals and the willpower and the pathways. It allows them to see that what they're doing is inspiring, is giving someone, offering someone hope. So thank you for sharing that.
And Amy, we can also look up that Chan helmet.
Yes. I'll send the link. I'll send the link when I send the PowerPoint stuff to you all. It will be in there. Yes.
I have an example of hope. So, I guess for a few months or so, like 4 months ago, I would say, I've been having thoughts about wanting to, end myself and stuff like that. Been having the lowest amount of hope and stuff. Thought that it was worthless to even exist and stuff like that. And then I tried pushing myself through it. I tried being myself and stuff. As you can tell, I'm a man in a dress, and because I give myself hope, I'm hoping to give other people hope and stuff to, be themselves, try to, be who they are, that they are scared to be because they're afraid to be judged and stuff. I'm hoping to show people that, like, even if you're scared and stuff, you should still try and stuff, because no matter what you think, it could be a positive outcome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Okay, I think we're about out of time. So the next workshops start at 9:30. So good luck today. Have fun.
Thank you.